to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. It's Thursday, whatever you want to say.
It sounded like you said Thursday. It was like a combination of it's Thursday into you made your own new contraction.
It's Thursday, Mike.
You did it.
It's week 17. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. I am Andy Holloway, joined by Jason Moore and Mike, the Fantasy Hitman.
Whoa.
Jumped on Periscope last night, chatted with the listeners. They were still quite obsessed with the fact you're not verified.
Still?
It's just, it's a big story. It's one of the biggest stories of 2016.
It doesn't need to be a story. It's just never going to change. The story already has ended.
People have talked about how terrible 2016 has been.
Right.
With all these, well-known people, they're passing. My Twitter can't get verified. It rolls right into that.
Almost the exact same thing. So, yeah, that was a big story. Talked a lot about the show. You can check that out. You can watch it on our Periscope. A lot of questions about the show, less about Week 17, believe it or not. But this show's all about Week 17. We have all of the matchups on today's show. We have our starts of the week, Jason's Boom Boom Kicker, news and notes. I even have a great quick question that Brooks prepared for us today. I'm curious to see what you guys can do with this quick question because it's a trivia question. And we're just jumping in right now.
I'm going to smash it. That's what I'm going to do.
Now, it's a little different. Because we're not giving you hints to narrow down. Here's the question.
Okay. Do we have to guess the hints?
Just listen. Follow me. And the listeners out there should participate with us. Who are the top 5 running backs in number of snaps on the season? You can only pick 5 guys. See how many you can get out of the 5.
Okay, so the top 5 snaps?
Top 5 snap counts for running backs this year.
Okay, I'm going to throw out David Johnson.
Well, right, hold on. So Mike and Jason, I'll write this
How do we
down.
answer this? Because I feel like
you give 5 names
first,
each. No,
the other
you can put the same one.
Copy.
No,
I know that we can. But all right, I'm gonna go David Johnson as well.
Give me 5 names.
Okay, David. So
I'm curious how the
why
first
don't you guys
3 weeks factor into LaFell.
why don't you guys combine your efforts here?
All
why
right.
don't you work together?
All right.
Give me
I
5
like
names together.
Okay, so I'm going to go David Johnson,
Right.
Elliott
for sure.
Elliott.
Okay.
I'm going to go Murray.
Yeah, DeMarco Murray was in my list. Lev Bell, if depending on how
He's
the first 3 weeks
suspended, man.
No, well, that's what I'm saying.
So are you officially
I'm
putting
not.
Lev Bell in there?
I am not personally.
Well, you got to come to a consensus.
No, I think that's right.
you can.
If the first 3 weeks are factored in as just a percentage of season,
This is a
then,
total snap count.
Okay, then no, not Lev Bell.
Oh man. Gore?
Any other guesses?
Frankie old man Gore? I mean, he gets pulled off a lot.
Yeah, I don't think Gore.
But he hasn't missed. I'm trying to think of guys who have not missed games because
Lamar Miller.
I wanted to say Melvin
Lamar
Gordon.
Miller would definitely be in there,
But
except
he's
for this
missed-
last week.
Yeah.
He's only missed 1 week though.
Melvin Gordon's missed a couple games, but he was like an every down type of guy. Gurley? You think Gurley's still on there? He hasn't missed a game.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna put Todd Gurley out
Gurley's
there.
got to be on the list. I like that.
So
Yeah.
we got
I think-
DJ, Elliott, Gurley. You have Murray. I wrote Lev, but you said no Lev.
There's no Lev for me.
I am tempted to still go Lamar Miller, even missing a game. He was.
Do you want to know the answer?
And I'm tempted to go Melvin Gordon. I'll go Melvin Gordon as my
I'll
last
go
one.
Lamar. Well, we're
Okay, for your last one?
Sure.
That's fine. Number 1 in snaps at the running back position, David Johnson. 949 snaps.
Okay.
Okay. Just unbelievable quantity. Number 2, DeMarco Murray. 828 snaps.
Got him.
I was thinking snap percentage.
No.
Speed
just
of offense
total
factors
snaps,
in here.
yeah.
Total snaps.
It's not good for Todd Gurley.
Number 3, Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, wow.
781 snaps. Also first in snaps per game during his 12 active games.
That is bananas, man. 3 games missed.
And
Yeah.
he's third in the entire league.
Number 4, Todd
All right.
Gurley, 691
Todd, I
snaps.
thought you were psyching us out.
Look at
Todd.
that. Todd Gurley's top 5 in something. That's
Oh,
cute.
yeah. Hey, by the way,
You did it, Gurley.
we'll do this today. Mike will do it on the spectacles. We'll put it on Snapchat.
What are we doing?
I lost the bet with a listener from before the season.
Oh, yes.
And because I did not immediately respond to this tweet, I have been accused of trying to avoid the payout on the water bet by a lot of people. I will happily take a water. I bet that Gurley would finish top 5 in fantasy. He did not. It would be what I call a miss.
Well, then I'm throwing this out there. I had a bet with a listener where I was going to lose because I took Golden Tate and he took Marvin Jones. And he was waiting for my water video. I said, you got to wait just because I was putting it off. It was clearly going to be Marvin Jones. And then it's clearly Golden Tate. I want a water video.
So I'll pay that out on Snapchat.
Okay.
And you'll put on the spectacles.
Yes.
And I'll spin the wheel of water.
I think I can get it to Twitter as well. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure
I'm
it out.
going to
Who are the other guys? Or did we go
Ezekiel Elliott.
Elliott, okay.
Is the last one. So
All
you
right.
guys did mention all of them. It wasn't Lamar Miller. Jason was right with LaFell. But when you look at those snap counts, the difference between 1 to 5 is 949 to 668.
Oh,
So you're talking about David Johnson having nearly 300 more snaps?
Well, we said he was 2 times in fantasy the number 12 running back. He was 2 RB1s himself.
Not bad. That was one of the frequent questions on the Periscope. Who would my number 1 pick be next year? What is it only between?
Who did you give?
I said David Johnson.
Oh, mine's LaFell.
Mine is LaFell as well.
But it was like, okay.
Although-
I said either one. If you make me pick, I'll just go with David Johnson.
In reality, if it's my personal league, I'm going to draft David Johnson. I'm an Arizona Cardinals fan. If it's that close, I'm totally going to tie break and go with the fun.
Somebody asked in a keeper league, would you trade David Johnson or would you trade LaFell to get David Johnson? And I kind of said, why? I mean, it's just like, who cares? I mean,
They both have their issues.
Don't need to make sideways trades.
yeah, that was my point. So I said, if you really love him, why not? Don't care.
News and notes from around the league.
By the way, you can follow us on Twitter, see those periscopes, as well as the water bet payout at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. Grab your championship gear on there. Check us out on iTunes. Thanks for the reviews. Quick news for the day. Doug Martin is starting a 4-game suspension for violating the substance abuse policy.
No. PED.
That is correct. Thank you for the...
That has been changed. It was Adderall, which is considered a PED.
Well, no, here's the thing. It's both. Adderall in season is a PED. Adderall in the off season is under substance abuse. For some particular reason, they can't just agree on what it should go under.
It's not important.
Yeah, it is.
He's checked himself into a treatment facility, and Charles Sims also in on IR, which means Jacquizz Rodgers.
Yeah, for this week, Charles Sims on the IR. It's the Jacquizz show this week.
I am going to change my percentage chance of Doug Martin remaining in Tampa Bay.
Ooh.
Because of how this circumstance was handled, with Dirk Cutter being directly involved and the way that they seem to be talking about it, I'm not going to guarantee that Doug Martin is not there next year. I'm changing that percentage chance. I think it's 50-50 that he's back in Tampa next year.
Jason, give your take, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I said this right away when the news came out that I want Doug Martin now. I think Doug Martin is going to fall in drafts like crazy. I fully expect him to be back in Tampa Bay. I fully expect him to be the starting running back. And this is super early prognostication. I mean, come off season, he could be cut, and then obviously everything changes. New information will change my opinion, but early right now, I think he's the clear starter, and he's going to go in the 8th round or later, and so I'm happy to draft him as my RB3 and stash him, and I think he's going to be a great pick next year.
And I know
you
I don't
guys
know.
might disagree.
I don't agree, but we don't need to talk about all that now.
Well,
There's too little information for us to know.
There is information that we do know, though. So he's owed $7 million next year. That was guaranteed money.
Yeah.
That is no longer guaranteed money.
If they want out.
His contract has been voided. They can cut him with absolutely no
I'm
financial
going to
repercussions.
change the percentage chance of him returning to Tampa Bay.
He's
back down to 10%.
28, very ineffective last year, owed a lot of money.
The statement I disagreed with most out of what Jason said was this, he's the clear starter comment, because that's just not the case. He isn't.
Agree to wholeheartedly disagree.
Yeah,
he will come back and be the clear starter.
Okay. You
Unless they draft
you
a running
go with
back
the
or
2.9
sign a
yard
running
per
back.
carry guy that just broke the drug policy. I'm going to go with not that. Ajayi is practicing, fully expected to play on Sunday. Thomas Rawls, also a full participant in practice, expected to play on Sunday. Those of you who picked up Alex Collins hoping for a big day are going to be disappointed.
Maybe. I mean, they
Spencer-
might split still. We'll see.
Well, you're disappointed that you have the starting running back
Yes.
back in the lineup.
Yes.
Spencer Ware is practicing on Wednesday, fully expected to play in Week 17. This was big news. Antonio Gates said, this is not the way I expected to be done when he came to talking about retirement. Definitely leaning towards returning, coming back to play next year. You know, it doesn't hurt that he's only one touchdown behind Tony Gonzalez for the all-time tight end TD record. But
We'll see how many he scores this weekend.
he's been effective.
It's. I mean, for an Antonio Gates year, it's been rough. His yards per catch and everything. His efficiency is way down.
Well,
I feel
that's
like
why
he-
he's saying I don't want to go out like this. The problem is he doesn't realize he keeps getting older.
I want him to have, you know how you have those the signs at the front of a business that say like open and close.
Uh-huh.
I want one on his jersey this week that says retiring, not retiring, and it starts out not retiring, but if he gets that touchdown, he flips it over.
Well, he needs 2 to pass the record.
Well,
One to tie. I think he'd be good with a tie.
I think he's the start of the week for one of us this week, so maybe he'll get it. Steelers confirmed no Big Ben, no Lev Bell, no Antonio Brown on Sunday.
And for those of you who were riding the Pittsburgh Steelers into the fantasy championship of Week 17, my condolences.
Unless you got it, Eli Rodgers or
No, even if you have those guys, now it's Jarvis Landry as the quarterback, and no
Jarvis
one.
Landry, huh?
Did I do that again?
Yeah, it's Landry
Jones. Landry Jones.
Jarvis Landry Jones.
It's the,
I can get behind that.
but and even if you have Eli Rodgers, he can't replace Antonio Brown.
No, he cannot. I talked about this a few weeks ago, hoping it would happen. Tom Coughlin's interviewing today with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, so you hope this will happen.
I think Tom Coughlin's a great coach.
Jacksonville, you need a petition immediately that says keep Tom Coughlin out of Jacksonville. Andy likes him. We know what that means. He's a bad coach.
You do have a bad history on these coaches right now.
His career,
I do think
his
Tom
career
Coughlin is a
record-
good coach. I do.
his career record with Jacksonville when he was there before was great. He was a great coach. So
So just
I think he's a good coach.
two-time Super Bowl champion.
I know.
You maniac. All right. Tomorrow, we will go through in and out all of the injuries and players that may or may not play this week. It's a long list of guys that didn't practice on Wednesday, but too soon to tell you whether they're in or out yet. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. We're talking about Lamar Miller and Bilal Powell. I got the inside scoop. Got the inside scoop yesterday on Theo Riddick, and based on what I heard, I don't think he plays this week. I think he's done for the year. But we'll talk about more of those tomorrow.
The year, or if they are in the playoffs, is he coming back?
It's not sounding very good.
All right.
So I lean towards the year. But let's go ahead and jump into the early games.
Fantasy Forecast.
All of our Week 17 rankings are up on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Just click the rankings button, grab that position. All of our consensus rankings and the premium flex rankings and all of that are up. The initial ones for this week, we always adjust them throughout the week, as you know. We will have a Week 17 weather conditions article on the website by Sunday that will fill you in on any influential weather patterns.
That should be our staff writer, Eric Ludwig.
He delivers the goods
Ludwig.
with this article. Last week,
I believe it's Eric von Ludwig.
yes,
Sorry.
comes from a very
It's the weather report.
Very-
Yeah.
weather report.
I love it. We got to change that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, he comes from a dangerous family. Mike, are you periscoping this week?
I believe so. It's New
You're not gonna
Year's.
be a liar like last week, are you?
Hey, things didn't work out. Had the wife's birthday on a Friday. Had then on Christmas Eve. Sometimes you got to take care of the family.
Family first.
And Sunday is New Year's Day. And as a middle, or not, I guess I'm not middle 30s yet, but early 30s, man.
You don't have many left.
I don't know how many, or I don't know how late I can make it on New Year's Eve. So if I stay up late, the Periscope, we'll see.
I have kids I haven't seen in New Year's in a while. I haven't been there at midnight for a little while. All right, Ravens take on the Bengals. This game is, I guess the Bengals are 1-point favorites at home, 41.5 point over-under. Going to fly through some of these decisions here. You have the running back situation, Jeremy Hill destroying dreams last week, Rex Burkhead. Who do you like more between those two this week?
I haven't gotten any Jeremy Hill updates on exactly what happened. Is it the ankle, just an ankle combined with inefficiency? I would be leery to start Jeremy Hill. I mean, it's already a bad matchup. The Ravens are second against the run. Jeremy Hill doesn't usually produce in bad matchups. So if you had to play one of the two, I'd lean with T-Rex.
I have them back to back in the rankings, but they're both. I would not want to start either of these fellers.
Now that we have 3 years of Jeremy Hill in the books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Year 1, year
Amazing.
2, and year 3, basically identical carry counts, right? 220 carries in each year. Year 1, amazing. Jason said it. 5.1 a carry, 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns. Took the league by storm. 8 20-plus yards runs.
Because he did that in like half the season.
He did that in 16
Well,
games.
but he
but
didn't come on until the second
Sure,
half of his
same
rookie
amount
season.
of carries, though, as these next 2 years.
Right.
Last year, 3.6 a carry. This year, we saw what he was. A little bit better than last year, which was a huge disappointment. What is he anymore? And is he going to be...
He's a goal line back.
Is he going to be a Bengal for a long time?
He'll be a Bengal next year, but man, he's very disappointing for me as someone who loved Jeremy Hill coming into last year's draft. Extremely disappointed. I will say, as of right now, he'll probably end up being on my target list because his draft stock is going to drop yet again. I think you were able to get him in the 5th, 6th round, and if you can get Jeremy Hill, that type of a guy, in the 8th round, I would gladly scoop him up. But you just, I think he is who he is. So it's not that rookie sensation that we saw.
Brandon LaFell's had a couple of great weeks. Do you like him this week against the Ravens' pass defense, which is pretty good?
Not really. I mean, this is a game with a 41-point over-under, which is pretty low, and the reason is because the Ravens are a very good defense, and the Bengals, they're not going to play A.J. Green. They don't have Eifert. That might say, okay, more targets go to LaFell, and maybe if you're in a deep league, he's an all-right play, but I'm just not going to trust the offense to produce enough points to be fantasy relevant here. I'm not playing a single Bengal top to bottom. I can't think of one that I would actually play unless I'm in a 2-quarterback league, in which case then sure, I'd throw Andy Dalton out there.
Is it Jeremy Hill hasn't fumbled? Is that true?
I don't know. I don't know if he's fumbled or not.
Well, we have the stat down here that he's not fumbled in his 215 carries.
It's amazing
those,
for Jeremy Hill.
Those benchings, apparently those worked.
Am
I right?
Yeah.
Let him know you can't fumble.
I can see you're changing. I like Brandon LaFell this week. I'd start him as wide receiver 3. He's been pretty good. The target, they have to throw the ball.
It's all about Smith Senior in this game.
Yep.
All about him. If you're talking wide receivers, you want to start Smith. He's going out with a bang. This will be his last game.
So how do you project that wide receiver core next year? Because people want to know who's going to be the lead dog, and you look at the roster and you say there's nobody. Mike Wallace is not a lead dog. Kamar Aiken's not a lead dog.
Breshad Perriman is not a lead dog.
It doesn't seem that way.
Yeah,
it seems like he is much more of the
Well, they need a possession guy.
player. Yeah, exactly. They do.
So they'll probably have to find one in the draft or free agency. Terrance West, Kenneth Dixon, Eileen Dixon. How do you guys lean in this?
Eileen
game?
Dixon.
Right. Yeah, unanimous.
And then I like Dennis Pitta. Enough.
I mean he's Dennis Pitta. Pitta.
He's becoming the new Jason Witten.
Yeah. I think that's a fair comparison.
He's the rental. He's the waiver wire tight end rental.
Yeah, you want a few catches? You know he's going to catch a few balls, probably run pretty slow.
All right. Before we get to the Panthers Bucks, I want to tell you once again about our good friends over at Fandings. They are an awesome app for debating everything, sports or otherwise. And big news for every Android user out there that hasn't been able to play on the free Fandings app for iOS. You can play online at playfandings.com. Fandings is just a free platform to go in and show how good you are at debating against other people. And there's fun topics. What is your biggest pet peeve in sports? You can talk about that, get on a thread, vote for who you like. It's just a fun time for people like us who like fantasy football, who enjoy debating. And they have fresh debates up all the time, and there's also a leaderboard now. So if you get on there and you enjoy voting for people and getting in on debates and trying to win arguments and saying why you're so much smarter than everyone else
Take
out
him down.
there, you want to say I am as good at debating as Jason Moore.
Here you go. If you could pick one day and designate it a sports holiday, which would you pick? The first Friday of March Madness, the Monday after the Super Bowl, or opening day in baseball? That's one of the questions on there right now.
That's easy. It's the day after the Super Bowl.
It's funny. I would say the opening day of baseball myself.
I would say Thanksgiving.
But these are the type of things. NFL Coach of the Year questions up there right now. Would Rex Ryan be a good college coach? Hundreds of questions.
I actually saw a question I wanted to debate. It's basketball, but it said if an NBA team was going to rest star players, should they do it at home games or road games, and why?
Oh.
Welcome to the new NBA. But yeah, check out the Fandings app. It's great. Get it on your phone. Vote for winners. Even if you're not going to get on and ask a question, go vote for people. Settle some debates, basically. And then we also want to thank Pristine Auction. I'm staring down this beautiful Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski signed Patriots full-size helmet in a display case on the website right now.
Woo-wee!
Yeah, that's exactly what my insides just said. They just said, woo-wee, baby, woo-wee. Got some Walter Payton up there today. Gotta love that. Got a LaFell Antonio Brown signed helmet on there.
Go celebrate that fantasy championship with the man
honest.
who took you to the top.
And that man is David Johnson. Just go get a David Johnson signed jersey.
Got one of the most unique jerseys I've ever seen. It is a jersey that has all three numbers of Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin on it. All three numbers.
Really?
And the name on the jersey says the triplets.
Ooh.
And there's some pictures in the corner.
Is that signed?
Custom framed jersey, official player holograms. Really nice stuff. Tons of, literally hundreds of daily auctions on Pristine Auction. Great place to commemorate an awesome fantasy football season. We love them. We're always grabbing one or two things to put around the studio. So check them out. You can get some sweet deals. PristineAuction.com. Pristine auction.com. Back into the matchups. Heading back in. Got to talk Panthers and Buccaneers.
Gotta.
46.5 point over under, 5.5 point favorites.
Because
are the Bucks.
The Bucks are still in it, right?
Oh gosh, they're still in it.
They're not mathematically eliminated.
Let's put it this way. I'm talking about Jameis Winston in a little bit.
Oh. All right.
Jacquizz Rodgers is the story of this game to me. He should have the workload. He should have PPR value. He should be somebody that you start if you are missing out on a LaFell. Hopefully you could go grab Jacquizz Rodgers this week. I like Evans and Winston. I do think Brandon Myers is interesting as a desperate kind of tight end flyer.
He was the one who got the targets after Brate went down.
Yeah. I mean, the tight end's just a part of that offense. What do you think about the other side of the ball, though? Carolina doesn't have anything to play for. Pride, obviously. Defeating a division rival. But they're on the road. Newton's been hard to trust. I'm okay with him this week, but what do you make of the other guys? Benjamin's had a couple good weeks. Stewart, Olsen.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically rolling the dice. When you have Kelvin Benjamin, Ted Ginn, on that side of the ball, you're really searching for the touchdown, and you very well might get it. If Cam throws 2 touchdowns and you've got Kelvin Benjamin out there or Ted Ginn, you might get that touchdown, have a good game. But without it, there's just not usually enough passing volume going around these days in Carolina to allow you to be happy with, oh, good, he got, 8 for 92. It's just not. It's probably not happening with either of those guys. The The one guy who can get it done without a touchdown for the Panthers is Greg Olsen.
I was just going to ask about Greg Olsen. Now, I'm trying to remember. Did he left that game for a little bit, a little shaken up? Am I correct?
You are correct. He limped off the field.
Because he played in only 58% of snaps.
It's like a career low for Greg Olsen.
I mean, if you look at his snap percentage, it's riddled with hundreds.
Well,
as in he plays every single snap of the game. But the last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago, 86%. This last week against Atlanta, only 58%.
Did you guys hear he does not know the personnel groupings?
Yeah.
Because he plays 100% of snaps, so he does not know what the groupings are because he never comes in and off the field.
But whatever group they call, he's
always on the field.
I'm in.
I'll tell you what, though, if he's got pretty much his lowest snap percentage these last 2 weeks, I think Cam Newton's going, I really need that guy, because when he's in the game these last 2 weeks, he's had 6 receptions both games for 85 and 59 yards. I think he's safe, and he's always, he'll get a red zone target. So I think Greg Olsen is a play. Kelvin and Ginn.
Nope.
a deep dart throw.
We have Jonathan Stewart at 22 this week, just ahead of Deion Lewis, just behind Isaiah Crowell at Tampa. Tampa has something to play for, albeit, a slim chance. They still had a very successful year. They've definitely grown as a team. They should be contending in that division for years to come, assuming Jameis Winston continues to progress. Cam Newton, lowest completion percentage of his career by over 5%. It's been one of those years when you look at Cam Newton, you see last year, a little outlier above. You see this year, an outlier below. You see the previous 4 years. He's a 60% passer. He's not going to throw 35 touchdowns. I do think he bounces back from this year, next year.
But what does a bounce back look like?
A bounce back is more towards his career average of probably low 20s touchdowns through the air, 5 or 6, 7 on the ground. Still a very good fantasy quarterback in the right matchup. The
thing about Cam Newton is this was the year, I feel like more than any, where he really got beat up. I mean, he took a lot of shots to the head.
Yep.
And every running quarterback eventually stops running.
Yep.
They all do. McNair, Donovan McNabb. They stop running after a while. And
they're not that good.
Well, does Cam Newton have the skills to be a strong fantasy quarterback if you eliminate
the running,
most of the running? Let's say he runs only 30% of what you're used to. I mean, he's borderline not startable unless you're in 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, he's not a good pocket passer. So the question is whether he'll run next year or not. I think he's still young, and I think when the season matters and it's fresh, he'll be the normal Cam next year is my expectation.
And I guess you could argue that the running enables it, but last year he was a good pocket passer. He was a good pocket passer last year. 35 touchdowns, 60+% completion percentage. So you have seen a whole year. That's what's so weird about Cam Newton is last year I remember we were waiting for the shoe to drop and for him to return to the mean all last year and the entire year, all the way into the Super Bowl. I mean, they had a magical year without Kelvin Benjamin. And
well, the shoe dropped in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody's shoe drops with Von Miller. I mean, it's not. We're not talking about
the shoe stealer.
Yeah, there are no shoes.
Go look at his closet.
The cobbler
filled. The cobbler, not the peach cobbler. Don't get that confused with Pete Carroll. Texans and Titans.
I would also just throw out Brandon Myers.
We already talked about Brandon Myers. Welcome to the conversation, Jason.
Yeah, how you doing this morning, Jay?
I want to talk about the Texans and the Titans.
Goodness.
How are the Texans and Titans doing lately?
Texans and Titans. Good idea. 40-point over-under. Titans 3-point favorites. There is no motivation for the Texans in this game. They are clinched and locked at the number 4 spot. I'm holding back my desires to poop on their playoff chances for the sake of the Texans fans out there. But it's going to be tough. This is the Savage versus the Cassel.
Oh, man.
The casserole.
This is...
He bakes interceptions into that casserole every week. Look, Matt Cassel, I love the Texans defense. Let's put it that way.
This is a rough game because the Titans are playing for nothing. And that you have to downgrade everything because it's Matt Cassel. But what do they do with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry? Murray, we just talked about, was he number 2 on snaps?
Yes.
He's a bit older. He's been awesome. He's been fantastic this year.
He's going to be 29 next year.
But another
I
year
think it's
older?
Probably still 60-40 in this game, DeMarco.
Well, that's one. Is it 60-40 or is
Yeah.
it the normal 70 or higher 60?
Yeah, I
for
think you see
DeMarco?
Henry get some more work. Who I don't have confidence in, I've seen Breshad Matthews fairly high on some consensus rankings, and I've moved him way down.
Yeah, no,
I
thank
have
you.
no confidence in him not having a rapport with Cassel. Cassel can't get the ball to anybody on the outside.
You,
I mean,
you
he
never
just
know. When a new quarterback comes in, you never know who it's going to be. So when you got a guy like Breshad Matthews, I completely agree with you. You can't trust him. Maybe that's the guy he targets.
Well, and the Texans are second against the pass in terms of yardage, so it's.
I mean,
just
I dumped
bad.
him. I dumped him outside of wide receiver 3. I
Yeah,
do,
I don't
do
blame
not
you.
like him.
Don't blame you.
Delaney Walker's a must start, however, because he's the underneath guy. He'll be a friend to Cassel, and you're not going to sit Delaney Walker. He's your guy. On the other side of the ball, we were
Alfred
burned.
Blue.
We were burned last week by the hopes of Savage targeting
Hopkins. Yeah.
Alfred Blue. Jason just said it. You want to talk Brandon Myers though? Or is it?
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about Brandon Myers. No, Alfred Blue is
He's the guy.
Is the main player that I look at this game and I say he has the potential. This is not. I can't imagine this being a high-scoring game between Savage and Cassel. 2 decent defenses with 2 bad quarterbacks means low scoring, which means you're going to be able to continue to run the ball. The Texans this year, and really for the last 3 years in the entire Bill O'Brien era, have given the running back a ton of work. We saw Alfred Blue last week be pretty productive. Even the week before, he looked, fresh. His legs are a little bit fresher. I don't imagine that Lamar Miller plays, because why would you play Lamar Miller? You're locked into the playoffs. You're going to want him and need him there. So I think Alfred Blue is a quality play. I think I have him as an RB2 this week.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Jaguars and the Colts. 47-point over/under. This game is interesting to me. And where do you gentlemen have the Bort?
Ooh.
Blake Bortles.
I am actually talking about Blake Bortles later on in this show.
Yes, you are.
I like it.
All right, we have him as a top 10 consensus quarterback
He's
this
my
week.
streamer this week.
Yeah, I like the Jacksonville passing offense this week.
That means you like Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, some of that has to do with you're taking on the Colts. Who,
24th against the pass,
24th.
23rd against the run.
I mean, they're just their secondary is very exploitable. Blake Bortles had, I mean, maybe it wasn't the most production of the season for him. He only had 1 touchdown last week, but he actually looked like a competent quarterback. My favorite blurb of the week was when asked about Allen Robinson's success after having a whole entire year of trash. They said, "Well, we moved him around." Like,
Something you could have thought of 15 weeks ago.
You made you did some coaching.
Coaching is
You
what that's
did
called.
some different play calling, and you
Gus
moved him
Bus,
around.
And that, obviously is at the same time that Gus Bradley's gone. So
So the thing that other offenses do with their elite wide receiver, you thought maybe you would jump on board with that, and it worked out. So I expect that to continue. Doug Marrone, I mean, this is a guy who has head coaching dreams. He's been a head coach before. He's playing for something, right?
Yeah.
He's playing for maybe an opportunity to stay on as Jacksonville's head coach, maybe to get
Have
hired.
another opportunity.
Yes, another. So they are playing for something.
Do you have
maybe not standings in playoffs, but they're playing for the coach.
On the other side, you're starting Andrew Luck. Do you like Frank Gore this week? Do you worry that his workload's going to be diminished in this game?
I think they'll play him about the normal amount.
Yeah.
really. So I'm not concerned.
T.Y.
about
Hilton,
him.
Dante Moncrief.
I don't even know if Moncrief's going to play.
If he does, he'll score. If he doesn't,
Yeah,
he'll.
if
Right.
he does, expect 30 yards and a touchdown from Dante Moncrief. I like T.Y. Hilton. I know that the Jaguars, their passing defense is solid. Third in allowing yardage. Jalen Ramsey. Whew.
He's
my goodness.
really good.
He's good. But, I mean, Hilton moves all over the place like a good elite wide receiver does. Often goes in the slot. And he's just a division killer. So I'm not afraid of starting Hilton.
Yeah, I think both of those guys are good. Real quick to go back to the Jacksonville side of the ball.
I thought he was going back to Brandon Myers.
Look, Brandon Myers is amazing. No, Chris Ivory is
give me Chris Ivory.
I think he is.
Let's do it.
He's borderline a must start this week. You're taking on, the Colts' 23rd ranked run defense. You're the only guy in town really because Denard Robinson, he'll probably be out there, but he's been banged up. TJ Yeldon's gone to IR, and Chris Ivory's had productive games. He had 60+ yards receiving last week. And I think Chris Ivory, I've got him as an RB2 this week, and I think he's a solid play. We have to remember, Week 17 is a weird beast. Our good Twitter buddy Scott Barrett tweeted out a great tweet about last year's Week 17. Last year's Week 17, here's the top 5 running backs. Rashad Jennings, DeJuan Harris, Tim Hightower, Ronnie Hillman, and Jonathan Grimes. I mean, those were guys that's like a hodgepodge of the backups that are in Week 17.
It's the backups to the backups.
Yeah, exactly. And that's Chris Ivory.
Jonathan Grimes?
Number 5.
Wow.
Quick question. Andrew Luck has been sacked one time every how many pass attempts?
7?
I'm going to go 12.
12.8.
Yes!
Very good.
12.8. Patriots, Dolphins, motivation for both of these teams. It looks like the Patriots can get that number 1 spot, lock it down. Or the Dolphins can.
You need to lock it up.
Look, I mean, the Dolphins may have more motivation than any team in football this week.
Yeah.
Because if you get the number 5 seed, you play at Houston. If you get the 6th seed, you play at Pittsburgh.
Well, one of those things is not like the other.
One of those things is not like the other.
Big Ben or Tom Savage?
Yeah. Yeah. So I expect the Dolphins to come out motivated. I expect that to not matter very much because they are they're 9.5-point dogs at home? Is that right? Yeah, that's right. New England's 10-point favorites at Miami.
I think I would.
And I think I'd take the over.
You'd take the over? I think I'd take the Dolphins to cover here.
Well, can you lean on Ajayi for your Week 17 championship?
Oh,
or you don't have a choice?
That's the hope. He's my RB20, which is definitely a guy that you're playing. He went beast mode last week, hurt the shoulder. There were questions about whether he'd be out there, but he's practicing in full, so he is a go, and I think you're going to have to rely on him, have to lean on him. I've got a bet with Brooks. Right now, Ajayi is RB11. I bet that he would not finish top 12.
The last 2 weeks, New England has given up 3 points in each of the last 2 games. Their defense has been outstanding. It has to stop Matt Moore. That's why I think that's why the line's where it's at. I think it's more about that defense and Matt Moore than it is about anything else. I just don't have confidence. Don't have confidence there.
Yeah, don't blame you. LeGarrette Blount, a spectacular play. Once again, the Dolphins' run defense ranks near the bottom of the league, so you fire him up. The only thing that can stop LeGarrette Blount is if they want to get Dion Lewis all those carries, getting him ready for the playoffs. What are you laughing at?
Well, I was scrolling down my rankings here, right? And I'm looking at Dion Lewis because I know I had moved him up. I actually have Dion Lewis a couple spots behind Blount this week. I think it's a good week for Dion Lewis. I noticed I have an interesting character sitting in at the number 1 spot in my running back rankings.
Your top running back of the week.
The number 1 running back, according to my very now inaccurate weekly rankings, appears to be Terrance West.
Very nice.
Apparently, Terrance West is somehow my number 1. I'm going into the rankings now to figure out just how many touchdowns I gave him this week.
That was a
we've got him for 6. We've got him down for 6. I
pushed the wrong button there.
No, it was supposed to be 0.6 touchdowns, and we went with 6 solid. So Terrance West, count him.
Tomato.
Lock him in for 6 touchdowns this week in a banner performance to lock down
in the best performance in the history of the world.
The Hall of Fame.
You took Kenneth Dixon earlier, so he's going to go
Kenneth
nuts.
Dixon is going to get 8.
Yes, yeah. This is going to be a good game for West. Go West, young man.
Now, do you worry about the Patriots? Because if they get a lead, if Vegas is seeing them with a giant lead, I feel like if they get that.
Leads come from points. Points come from fantasy points.
Sure, but
I'm cool with it.
I mean, do you think LeGarrette Blount's going to be out there at the very end of the game? Do you think?
I do.
Do you worry about those guys getting pulled? Is my question.
Well,
And should
if the
owners.
if the lead's big enough, they'll get pulled. But I'm not worried about it from a start standpoint.
The only guys,
Not as much as I'm worried about your start of the week at running back.
Tom Brady,
Mine?
he could get.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Tom Brady could get pulled. Wait, what? Oh my goodness! Yeah, I just saw it. That'll be a debate.
I couldn't.
Tom Brady, he could get pulled. 3/4 halfway through the game, but I think he should have done work if he's getting pulled out. Julian Edelman, I expect to play a lower amount of snaps than you used to for Julian Edelman. I think Malcolm Mitchell, Chris Hogan, they'll still be out there. So I'm not overly concerned about that.
All right.
Last game, we got the Bears taking on the Vikings. The Vikings are 5.5-point favorites. It's a 41-point over/under. This is the showdown we've been looking forward to all year. Barkley-Bradford, just like everyone expected.
Oh, the old Barkley-Bradford rivalry. It's gone on for years. These two hate each other.
Yes.
They grew up in opposite sides of the same city. Their families have always been opposed to one another. And
Very Romeo and Juliet situation.
Right, but more of a Barkley-Bradford
Lannister
situation.
and Starks.
Yeah, it's not friendly.
It's a blood feud.
Yeah, one of the two will be working at Walmart next year. No, that's not true. That's not true. But actually, look.
One will be a manager.
Sure.
Give him some credit.
Yeah. No, Barkley and Bradford. Well, people who like those guys really hate us right now. And by us, I mean me. All right, look, I love Jordan Howard this week. They're going to give him the rock.
Yes.
He's going to carry the rock, and he's going to help your fantasy team. I also don't mind Jerick McKinnon this week as kind of one of those, a half point, full point,
because the Bears
start worthy guy.
Is this a matchup situation? Bears
It's
28th against the run.
Yeah, it's a matchup. We know. I got him at 22. It looks like Jason has McKinnon at 19. So
you would go.
That's an RB2.
McKinnon over Asiata.
Yeah. Yeah, with so much confidence.
Yeah, it was.
Cameron Meredith, big week last week. Alshon Jeffrey. Do you prefer Jeffrey over Meredith?
I think I prefer Meredith.
Yeah.
And I wanted to talk about him.
What a weird dude.
You're a weird dude, Cam.
No,
Next
it's just
year.
weird. He was amazing.
What
The quarterback change, and then another quarterback change. He's amazing again.
What do you make of Cameron Meredith your initial thoughts going into 2017?
Alan Hearns.
Oh, okay. So you think it's a complete flash in the pan?
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. I think that he's got some staying power.
Okay.
I think
Well, look, I think Alan Hearns is a good player. That's the reality.
Right.
But I think his long-term his long-term position in the NFL is floating between wide receiver 2, 3 for the team he's on. I don't think Meredith can step up and do something more than what he's done this year and be a 1, if that's the question.
Right. Because Alshon Jeffrey, we expect him to be gone. Kevin White, the oft-injured Kevin White, will be back. So, you're looking at it's White and Meredith. And who would you prefer just right now, Cam Meredith or Kevin White?
For next year?
Yeah.
Ugh.
So I'm gonna take Meredith.
Sure. You're the Eric Decker, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm hoping for the one. I probably would not take Meredith because I think you can find Meredith's on the waiver wire. But if White was something special, then I'd want that shot at
That's
that.
fair. That's fair. You have an almost identical situation over there for the other wide receivers for Minnesota.
Stefan Diggs.
Who's Stephon Diggs?
Adam Thielen.
Should have been the man. Coming into the season, he had a sensational rookie year. Had those 2 monster games to start the year, then really disappeared. Meanwhile, Adam Thielen has been slow, the tortoise there in that race, just steady production, had a few blow-up games.
I think what you've seen with Diggs is a propensity to get banged up and not be able to get back from it. It's been kind of one of those things where, okay, we've had so many weeks where is Diggs going to play? Is he not going to play? If he plays, did he play hurt? I'd go with Thielen this week.
Yeah, we all three have Adam Thielen rated higher than Stefan Diggs. Andy, you only have him 2 spots higher. For Mike and I, we both have him a good dozen, or in Mike's case, 2 dozen spots higher than
take that, Diggs.
Than Stefan
Got
Diggs.
him.
But yeah, I think he's a good, PPR play especially. He's getting enough target volume. Sam Bradford doesn't throw the ball very far. usually. You know, he's staying in that nice 8 yards away from himself range, so that's helpful for PPR.
Starts of the week.
We're starting with your running back start of the week.
All right.
Because I am in I've been in shock since I've seen it in there, and I'm still in shock. And I won an easy E bet last week, so I'll happily bet you again.
Goodness.
If I win that, we'll sweep it.
If you had Ezekiel Elliott on your team and you didn't play him, you are a patented idiot.
Last week.
Patented? What, like from the patent office?
You got a patent from the patent office saying that
there is a far cry from start your Zeke and making him your start of the week.
No.
Which is what you've made him.
Oh, come on. We've done this
Starts of
times.
the week. I'm looking at the headline over here.
Oh, my gosh.
Who's your start of the week at running back?
It's Ezekiel Elliott. Let me tell you why. Because we've done this 100 times. I don't know why all of a sudden you're acting like we haven't done this before. This is a confidence play to say. This isn't saying he's going to be the number one running back. This is saying if you have Ezekiel Elliott, you need to play him. He's going to get work. He himself, there is no chance on planet Earth that when he gets out there for carry one, he is not trying to get that 178 or whatever he is away from the rookie record. He is going to be running like a man on a mission, and if they get up, they will pull him. But if they got up, there's a good chance he got in the end zone once or maybe twice in that first half, and he got 78 to 125 yards. I think you're going to be fine, and I think you're foolish if you don't play Ezekiel Elliott. That's why I'm making him my start of the week, which we've done plenty of times.
No, I don't have confidence in Ezekiel Elliott. He's getting pulled.
So you would bench him?
He's getting pulled No, I didn't say that.
Would you play him?
You're asking me to give you the credit for what we've done in the past, and then you're putting words into my mouth about him benching. I did not say. You said so you'd bench him.
It was a question.
He needs 177 yards for the rookie record. They're trying to win the Super Bowl. He's getting benched in this game, regardless of whether they're winning or not. There's nothing on the line for them. There's no motivation for them to do anything with that spot. Last week, you thought he'd have 25 carries. He had 12. How many carries does he get this week?
I thought he would have a great game. Look, you can't.
You said 25
I did say
carries.
that, but he got a 55-yard carry that took all of the other opportunities in that drive away from being able to get the ball.
So I'm saying I don't have confidence in Ezekiel Elliott having a big workload.
I don't have confidence in him having a good
12
fantasy
carries
day.
If he has 12 carries and doesn't have a 55-yard run, I don't think they give him 12 more until he does. 177 yards for the rookie record. It's too far to go. Unless he breaks his first carry for 75 yards and he's got to do 100 for the rest of the game.
How about this?
They have higher priority.
Water bet that Ezekiel Elliott is a top 15 back this week.
Top 15 back?
Yeah.
He's your start of the week.
I know.
Yeah, top 15.
I'm saying he's going to be one of the best 15
12.
backs, and you need to play him.
Top 12.
No. You've made this a huge thing. You're saying
no, I haven't.
So you're saying
he disagreed with you too.
I disagree with both of you.
What, Mike? What do you think the bet should be?
I think top 15 is perfectly fine. I think that's a perfectly fair
I said top
bet.
12. If you're confident in Ezekiel Elliott to the level of making start of the week, which means
Water bet.
I want this on record too because I'm going to take a look at it. Water bets this week. You and I have Dak playing the entire game.
That's a bad one.
And you have Ezekiel Elliott top 12. So the Dallas game determines what you're eating next week. Let's put it that way. Or what I'm eating. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so for me, we've spent a lot of time on Elliott here. I agree with Andy that he's going to get pulled regardless. I don't think this is if they're up 2 touchdowns going into the half, they'll pull him out. I think he plays a couple drives. I'm concerned about Dak. You have Tyron Smith, the left tackle. He's not going to play. It's difficult to say we're going to play our starters when you don't have your starting left tackle and you have nothing to play for with Dak going into the playoffs. So I'm kind of in the middle of you guys. I will jump in here then with my start of the week at the running back position. I think he's going to play. He did not practice yesterday, but that's Bilal Powell. I completely expect Matt Forte to be out, and this is just another situation where Powell, as the workhorse,
he's looked good.
He's
just looked the
when
part.
Given opportunity, he's always looked great. I have to imagine it's a thing that the Jets just don't believe he can do that for 16 games, so they never let him start as the main guy, even though he succeeds greatly when they give him the opportunity. Catches the ball. I think he's a stud. So I like him regardless of any kind of matchup if he's the lead guy. So he's my start of the week.
I'm going with Mark Ingram this week. They've come out and publicly said they want to get him to 1,000 yards. He's 60 yards away from that threshold. He looked very good last week. I don't remember which one of you looked it up, but the odd stat that Mark Ingram, every single time that he's had 15 or more carries, they've won the game. Every time he hasn't, they haven't. There's a correlation there. He's the best running back on that team. And last week, he outsnapped Tim Hightower 48-15. That's not changing this week. I actually really like Mark Ingram next year. I like him moving forward. He's
looked
Mark
Ingram
good
all the time.
Hightower's not getting any younger, and I think Ingram has shown this year when he played. I don't know why he's been split so much, but he's been really good at actual football. He's one of those you watch film and you go, why is this guy not getting the ball more?
Do you think Sean Payton leaves? Do you
No.
think he's back next week?
I think he's back.
Yeah, why would he not be?
There's been talk of him being traded. They're going to listen to offers for him, just like they did last time.
Trading a head coach is so bizarre.
Remember he almost went to Miami?
Yeah.
He's also apparently intrigued with the St. I almost said St. Louis,
The
the Los
Rams?
Angeles situation. All right, Jameis Winston. I only brought him up, by the way, is because Ingram, it seems like it's Sean Payton and Ingram don't.
There's something weird there.
Jameis Winston's my starting quarterback of the week, my start of the week at quarterback. He's at home against Carolina with a sliver's chance of the playoffs and a beatable secondary, Mike Evans.
There's no chance.
I like Jameis Winston enough this week to make him my start of the week.
Yeah, he's been producing. I think we were hoping for a little bit more last week, but he got enough to get the job done. And I'm doubling down. I mentioned it earlier in the matchups. Blake Bortles gets to take on the Indianapolis Colts. Blake Bortles is playing for his job, playing for his job next year. You get a new coaching staff in. They're going to evaluate everything, and that might include benching or getting rid of Blake. I don't know if they can get rid of him with his contract, but benching him and moving on to a different quarterback. So he's playing for his job. Doug Marrone playing for another head coaching opportunity. Beatable matchup. I like Blake Bortles again.
My start of the week this week is Russell Wilson. And he is not just to me, he is what Ezekiel Elliott is not. He is a locked and loaded. He's my number 2 quarterback this week. They are in a game that they need. San Francisco is their opponent, and they stink. But Seattle needs to win to get a bye week, and because they flex the Atlanta game, they're not going to know ahead of time. They're going to have to play to win. Russell Wilson on the season. What do you think? Disappointment or fantasy owners been happy with Russell this year?
I'm going disappointment.
Huge disappointment. I mean, we expected him to be a great quarterback this year.
He was
from day one.
He was like a 5th, 6th round draft pick.
Yeah. So second half of the season, week 9 to now, what quarterback is Russell Wilson in fantasy football?
Second half, he's been great.
Yeah. What quarterback?
I'm gonna go.
I'll go
4,
3,
4, 3, 2. He is the number 2 fantasy quarterback since week 9. He's in a game they have to win against San Francisco.
It looks so much like last year.
Yeah.
If you look at his first 8 games, 5 touchdowns. His next 2, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 4.
New strategy next year.
Second half draft.
Trade for.
You redraft midway through the year?
No, you trade for Wilson halfway through the year.
Yeah,
Crazy.
so Russell Wilson's my start of the week.
All right, let's go ahead and flip over to the wide receiver position. We got 3 interesting names here. I'm going with Steve Smith. This is his last game in the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens have nothing else to play for if not for Steve Smith. Steve Smith, somebody who came back to that organization after a devastating injury last year simply to say, you put your confidence in me. I'm not going out this way. I'm going to come back and give you something, which is what he did this year. He's been their best wide receiver the past few weeks. I really, really like Steve Smith in this game. Now, we're not talking 200 yards and 2 touchdowns necessarily, but I think Steve Smith has a bona fide high target game, so I like him.
I'll jump in here because I'm doubling down again, America. Out with the Jaguars. Things are going crazy over here in Week 17 when you're putting all your faith in the Jacksonville Jaguars. Allen Robinson, I like what happened. I like that the coaching staff pulled their head out of their keisters and said, we got to figure out different ways to get Allen Robinson the ball. Sure, he's not what that sophomore year from Allen Robinson. I think that's going down as the outlier, as his average catch has returned. He's at 11.8 yards for an average catch. His rookie year, 11.4. That sophomore year, 17.5. So that's going to be the outlier. However, I still think he's a great wide receiver. He's big, can get things done against that Colts secondary. So I think that he's going to return back to that. He's a startable wide receiver too, and you can have some confidence in him. So I'm pumping it up. Pump it up
while the heat is pumping. I am going with Golden.
That was the worst transition of all time.
I'm going with Golden Tate. Golden Tate got off to a slow start as well the first half of this year, but the second half of this year he has been exactly what we hoped for in preseason. Detroit needs this game. Detroit is extremely motivated, and they're playing against the Packers, who are going to be able to put up points, but the Packers secondary has been atrocious. They're the 31st ranked team against wide receivers. Golden Tate hasn't had less than 5 catches in when was the last time? That was the last 6 games. He's had 5 or more receptions every single game. 2 of his last 4 games, he's over 100 yards. He's a yards after the catch guy, and if you're going to do it, Green Bay's secondary is a game you're going to be able to do it against.
How many games did you say he's had 5 or more catches?
Consecutively.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I said 6.
It's been 11 games.
Yes.
Since Marvin Jones had a 5-catch game.
Oh, Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones has been in double digits 2 times.
You burned
since
bright.
His first 3 weeks.
He burned the brightest against Green Bay.
His first 3 weeks, he was amazing. Since then, 2 double-digit games. Both were 11. 2 touchdowns since week 3. From what I understand,
how does that happen?
From what I understand, he cannot.
He's not a number 1.
He cannot handle press coverage. He cannot get off press coverage. You press Marvin Jones, and he presses the off button. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
It's like Major League. I can't remember the guy, but he couldn't hit the curveball.
Yeah.
Find the one weakness and you just destroy him.
Is that we got tight ends. I'm going with Eric Ebron this week. He was a 8-catch guy last week. Great week. Faces the 20th ranked tight end defense this week in an important game for Detroit, obviously, playoff matchup or a playoff deciding game. So I'm going to go with Eric Ebron. I'm going to re-roll him this week and chase those points. You guys have some tight end picks?
Yeah, my tight end pick is a guy that helped me grab a championship last week, who has been on fire lately, who is almost going to be Mike's pump the brakes as soon as their starting quarterback Tyrod Taylor went down. It's Charles Clay.
Well,
it didn't go down, got pulled.
He went down to the bench.
Yes, he went down to the bench to save the team cash. So here's the deal. Mike alluded to this a few episodes ago in the fact that when Charles Clay has played with E.J. Manuel, he's actually performed better than when he's played with Tyrod Taylor. He's had 7 games with E.J. Manuel, and he's averaged 11 fantasy points per game in a PPR. He's had over 2 targets and almost 2 receptions more per game with E.J. Manuel. With how Charles Clay has been playing, their matchup against, over the last 5 weeks, the Jets have been the worst against tight end. I think there's a good storm here where, look, if you've got your locked and loaded, if you've got your Kelseys and you've got your Olsens, you got your Jimmy Grahams, you're in the championship, there you very well might have them. But if you're in that championship and you got there and you're going, I don't have a tight end, Charles Clay's on a lot of waivers. He might have been picked up. You might have got there last week on his back. So I think you can play him despite Tyrod Taylor going to the bench.
I like it, and I'm following the narrative that Antonio Gates is chasing the touchdown record. He wants to retire. He wants to be done with this game. So if he gets his 2 touchdowns, he's going to be out.
Breaking news.
Antonio Gates is retired. Oh, this is a sad face.
What's going on?
Oh, no.
There are some stat corrections that we need to talk about.
Oh, no.
Amari Cooper has lost a reception for 4 yards.
Uh-oh.
Frank Gore's lost a rushing yard. Michael Crabtree was given a fumble.
What?
Wow.
Oh,
Whoa!
no.
Hey, this could be happy music too. Did you or someone you know lose a fantasy football championship by less than a point, or maybe even less than 2 points?
What?
Go check your roster. You could be a champ.
Pretty crazy.
Wow.
The reason the sad music is there is because I was alerted to them being up by a listener moments ago, Coughlin, because I'm going to give him his day in the sun here on the show because of his day in sadness that is approaching. He had written me and told me this crazy story where he basically ended up, winning by 125.06 to 124.72, but he had Amari Cooper. And
no.
got a point adjustment, lost by half a point.
My goodness. You're still a champ to
Don't
me.
tell him. Don't tell your opponent.
Don't tell your league. They might not check. They're checked out. You are the champ.
So
No.
those point adjustments are pretty significant. Those are pretty significant
Wow.
ones.
Those are-
Especially the
Crabtree fumble.
The Crabtree
yeah.
fumble, at least.
That's 2 points in a lot of leagues.
Well, it
Yeah.
wasn't a fumble lost though.
Oh.
So it was just considered one fumble. That would, if you have a play where you catch the ball and then you fumble and recover it yourself
Right.
real quick, and then they don't see it, and then the league goes back and says, "No, we counted that as a fumble." That's what happened. So, the Oakland Raiders, if you're already mad at the situation, sad at the situation with Carr, now Crabtree and Cooper are going to affect your team. And then the Frank Gore 1 rushing yard may affect some people. That one's less significant because that's probably 0.1.
Well, unless you're on that was he
I
on the
know.
threshold?
Well, that's fine.
What did that knock him down to?
Frank Gore went.
99 yards.
Oh, no.
Wow, he went to 72.
Okay.
So
All right.
he's okay. But, yeah, the Cooper one's the big one because losing a reception, 0.5, losing
Yeah.
the 4 yards.
Yeah,
Or
if you're in a half point, that's almost a full point you lost. If you're in a full point PPR, that's 1.4 points gone.
Brutal.
Hope you played against them.
Well, let's move on. Let's move
Let's
on.
get
to something.
happy.
Jason Moore's ironclad, locked and loaded, 100% guaranteed boom boom kicker of the week.
Oh, there's a lot of good kickers out there named Justin Tucker.
It's sad you don't make Catanzaro your final week.
Oh, Catanzaro can never even be talked about again in this segment. Please don't ever do that to me. Look, there's great kickers. There's Justin Tucker. There's Steven Gostkowski, Cairo Santos, Vinatieri. A lot of good options. But this week I'm going with Vegas, okay, because there is a 56-point spread on the New Orleans-Atlanta game, and you are not going to put up 56-plus points without a kicker being heavily involved. And Matt Bryant has been great all year. I'm going with the favored team in a gargantuan over-under. I think points are going to be scored. Put Matt Bryant in. He was my first boom-boom kicker of the week. He is my last boom-boom kicker of the week. This is a Bryant sandwich, if you will. Although, really, he's just the bread. So it's
The
a...
tweets are coming in, man.
No.
Oh,
The tweets are coming in.
are any of them victories?
Not yet.
Oh, man.
Lost by 0.06 this morning due to the stat correction.
Ay, caramba. We did say if you won by less than
Yeah.
a point, I gave the warning, Mike. You corrected me. I said, you might not want to brag too much until Thursday. Hope you listen to me, not Mike.
Man, that is,
I'm
you're
gonna go
right.
with
It's
the-
going to go the other direction,
Yes.
too. I mean, but
As often as someone loses, 100% of the time that someone loses, the other person wins. So every single one of these
That's
guys,
spectacular.
we're probably going to hear more of the stories of the losses because it's felt more. But, man,
All right.
that's a little joy for your life. We
Yes.
had David Johnson bringing home a Foot Clan title. That was the two little girls singing the David Johnson and Zeke song there.
Love it.
All right, just so you know, we've talked a little bit about the other shows coming up in the offseason, but we will be here talking playoff football as well with the NFL playoffs going through January, the NFL playoff challenge, and some of those fantasy things. We're going to do a little bet here in the studio. You guys can play along with us. So thanks for listening today. Hopefully,
we got our Footcast now. If you're a supporter over at jointhefoot.com, you can have more fantasy footballers
so much
coming up
foot.
today.
So much foot. Check out fantasyjocks.com for fantasy trophies and rings for those sweet rewards. We've already seen some of those tweets.
The code is footballers.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.